did you happen to see when Rodri got on the field today? He was kind of sporting a new facial hair look.
He did. I did see that.
Yeah, it was very George Michael esque with a mouth mullet, if you will, over top of it.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, if he all he was missing was aviators and a long dangly cross earring, and bingo.
My guy was
George Michael
had very little F's given today on the facial hair from Rodri. He was all about the business.
No. Nope.
Yeah, he had faith,
Yes, he was.
if you will.
Look at that! Welcome to the Boys!
You are now tuned in to the Snobby Boy Podcast.
Punched him right in the mouth with that one. Welcome to the Snobby Boy Podcast. My name's Colby. That's Joe. We have got another jam-packed episode for you guys. This week starts our fan series, and we couldn't be more delighted than to bring on Mr. Pat Weitzel from Houston. He has been a 20-plus year veteran, as we would call it here, because he's, you know, got to show respect to the people that have paved the way for you. He's been around for about a little over 20 years, so he's seen the ups and downs. We're really excited to bring him on. I'll bring him on here in just a second. But before we do that, obviously, we're going to be talking about Brighton. And we're also going to be talking about Nottingham Forest. Kind of two different matches, very much. Like it was kind of crazy. But anyways, without further ado, I give to you. Hold on. Let me give him. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh no. Oh no. This is a very, very underwhelming. Where did my drum roll go? There it is. Mr. Pat Weitzel!
What's going on?
How are you, sir? Welcome to the show.
I'm wonderful. It's so good to be here. I've always wanted to do this, and it's thrilling to be here.
Awesome. Well, this is why we're doing it, guys. We want people like you, like Pat, to get on here, chop up the shit with us. It's not very often that you get people who literally will say, hey, come on our show and just say whatever you want. So here's your shot. We're giving one to Pat. So let's see how it goes this evening.
I gotta fix my my cable here. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Shit. There we go.
Well, while we do that, like I said, we'll be discussing Brighton. Tottenham push. You're good? Tottenham pushed late with 2 goals to Arsenal. Did Ben Davies, not falling after the Trossard trip, tripped him in the box? Did that change the outcome, do you guys think? We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
I got some thoughts on that one.
And then, finally, we're going to end it with the football talk before we get into a little Q&A with Mr. Pat. We're going to also discuss our Liverpool still in it. Oh, so start off with Brighton. Brighton, surprise starts and Phil as he did not train the day prior. And Bernardo seemingly needed a rest, having a massive workload. All of a sudden, Ake was back in the mix, jumping out to the lead early. They could have really helped us in this one, which we seemingly did. Away fans. Let's talk about the away fans real quick. They came out to play.
That they did. As per usual, anytime we have an away game, the traveling supporters, we always like to shout them out because they always are louder than the home fans, no matter if it's a smaller stadium like Luton or if it's a gigantic footballing stadium like Tottenham. When we play them, I'm sure the away fans will be heard. Pat, when you're watching the games over here, do you notice the same thing?
Absolutely. Especially with Brighton, you're kind of a hero if you do the away day to Brighton Manchester, anyway. Like, you're not doing that. You're not doing that if you're casual. Like, you're going to go and fucking sing. So, yeah, you definitely heard that.
So, great opening, 17-minute goal. Phil and Kyle. Kyle crosses into Superman. Superman at Ho. Where's it at?
Like from the weighted pass from Phil for Kyle, and then Kyle not taking any touches, but just hitting it one time across and putting it right on a platter for Kevin to put it in an upper 90 like that. That's a well worked goal.
I wanted him to leave it. I thought Kovacic was running onto it behind him. He would have tapped it in if Kevin hadn't headed it. But you don't really you don't put a lot on Kevin to score a header. But
no,
awfully glad he did.
No, I mean he's really like he's our orchestrator. He's the guy with the wand, in my opinion. And just exactly like you said, like to see him have that opportunity to do that and then execute it. Wow.
Oh yeah, anytime Kevin gives you that, it's crazy.
Yeah,
you're not asking that. You're not asking him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not asking that of him. That's not his.
No.
That's not what he's good at. That's not why he's out.
No.
So it was phenomenal to see. It was a great cross. Well-deserved goal. They were playing really well, and Brighton. We'll probably go on to talk about the Foden goal, I guess, next. The free kick.
Sure.
Oh, that wasn't really a foul.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. It wasn't a foul.
It wasn't.
Nope.
Let's be honest here. That's obviously not why we won the game. I was going to go on to say, like, I never at any point during the game felt remotely nervous that it wasn't going to go the way that it did. I was really always going to be a 3-4-0 win, very comfortable. And I don't think the poor decision that sort of gifted us the free kick that got the second goal really made that much of a difference.
Right.
Yeah, and with the lineup that they were putting out, they're hurting bad injury wise, so they didn't have a lot of their horses for this one. So kind of felt like it was going to be a city thumping. I'm glad that you brought up Kovacic, because that was one of the notes that I had from the game was the benefit of having him in there. We saw that a little bit today in the second half against Forest. Was when he's in there, he gives us a lot more solidarity in the midfield, and with him being there, it allows Rodri a little bit more license to roam and to push forward a little bit. And he's shown more recently that he's got goals in his bag, and he's able to progress the ball with his feet and spray some passes wide. When it's not Kova in there and we have one of our fullbacks or center backs stepping in next to him, if he doesn't have that license to kind of roam as much, because he knows there's only 3, sometimes 2 behind him, so he has to kind of hold a little bit more. Kova being there, he knows that he'll hold if Rodri steps and goes forward a bit. So I like having Kova partner Rodri, and we saw that with Ford today. Rodri
for Kovacic.
I think he signed a 3 or 4 year deal, would be my assumption. Like off the top of my head, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. So, but I imagine.
Hey Siri.
right, exactly, exactly.
Well, actually, it's
I see some parallels with the Gundogan story. Quite honestly, we didn't get off to a great start at City. Kind of had the reputation of being maybe a little bit more defensive minded. And over time under the Pep system, became somebody who was a whole lot more reliable, a whole lot more forward thinking, and somebody who could be much more useful in the attack. And, I know Kovacic has been around longer and, maybe a little bit more settled in his ways, but, the longer you play, the longer you play for Pep, the more your game evolves. And I could see him going a similar way.
Mm-hmm. So right around the 34th minute, actually, let me go back. I have to play. I have to see him get this wall kick, because it was actually pretty excellent.
Is it Foden? It is. And it takes a deflection, and And it's 2-0. And
It's a great kick.
It's a great kick. Absolutely great kick.
Did the defender
literally,
turn his back on that too?
He did.
He jumped and spun.
That's where the deflection came from. That's where the deflection came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a no-no if you're a defender. Like that, you can't turn your back. You gotta stay strong.
Your set piece coach is doing so many. You're doing so many things.
Yep. Pulling his hair out for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So literally, what was it? 8 minutes later.
8 minutes. Mm-hmm.
8 minutes later. We'll go ahead and throw that one up there for you too, to give a little look or a refresher, if you will.
grows and goes.
Oh, I love seeing that type of play. I love seeing aggressiveness because too often I find that I'm not saying our team, but other teams, they get so conservative so fast. And we were not shy in this game. And with the way we've been playing, we could be really cranking out a lot of goals, and we haven't. And especially with that goal differential between us and Arsenal right now, only being a point off. It's high time that we start putting the pedal to the metal. And this is where it kind of started for me. Pat, what do you think?
Had a lot to do with it too. They were really, trying to play out of the back. Being a lot more aggressive than other teams, even with the the personnel that they had out there. That was very. It was really affected by their injury situation. They were still playing their brand of football, and they play a unique way for a team that's kind of mid-table in the Premier League like that, and credit to them for going at it and following their system. Even given the challenges that they've had recently, but you don't pick up that ball against a team that's not trying to play out of the back like that. That's not trying to pass through their box to get it out and go out on the break. A lot of teams, just don't play that way against us. And so it's good to see when we have the opportunity, and good coaching.
Good coaching.
Yeah, and with Bernie's pressure there to get that touch on, that's the person right now that we want the ball to fall to, is right to Phil's left foot, and that's the way he slotted that home. Just shows how confident he is in himself right now, because that was so composed. He knew he didn't need to smash it. He just slotted it into the far corner in a spot where he knew the keeper wasn't getting to. So that shows a sign of a guy who's in form, is fully confident, and knows I can just slot this in. I don't need to kill it, because a lot of guys might just try to put their foot through that and either sail it over the crossbar or hit it right at the keeper.
Or do something cute, like do a fucking drag back.
Yeah.
And try to play it off for somebody coming on to run onto it. They try to walk the ball in, in too many situations where just taking the damn shot would be, I think. And I'm glad he just took the damn shot.
Yep. Absolutely.
Pat gets 2 air horns.
Absolutely.
First time. Pat gets 2 air horns. So we're at the half, right? We're up 3. For me, at this point in the match, I had 2 questions. Do you keep Phil on for his 3rd hat trick of the season? Also, do you make swaps to keep players ready for the games to come? Because at this point, Brighton is everything but together. They are completely disheveled. Desemery has no control over what's going on his side at all. And we're running them ragged. So, what do you think, aside from the fact that we already know what happens, do you think that we should have subbed Phil out at the half? Pat?
It's a tough call. I could justify it either way, and it's hard for me to put aside knowing what happens, and then thinking about, well, we've got an extra game in the Premier League. We've got the FA Cup final. I don't love second guessing Pep. I get a lot of heat whenever I do. There seems to be a kind of attitude. This is sports, guys. Nobody really thinks they're smarter than Pep, but this is the triviality that sports exists for us to debate over. So whatever.
Right. Right.
Yeah, sure. Would it have worked out better? Yeah. Could you have understood why? Would it have made maybe more sense at the time? Yeah. Was I super upset about it at the time? Did it really occur to me? You should really be taking Phil off here. I wasn't really thinking that at the time. So it would kind of be wrong for me to, turn around as I sit here now and say, I should have taken Phil off, because I really wasn't thinking that at the time.
Right.
I liked all the subs. I liked all the subs that they brought in. I might have pulled the trigger a little earlier, kind of right after Alvarez put in the fourth one. I probably would have given Phil, 10, 15 minutes for an opportunity to see if he can get his third. And then after that, around the 60th, pull the hook, because we knew we had more matches to play, especially towards the end of the season. You want everybody fit and healthy and in form too. So I liked all the people that he brought in. I thought they all needed to get some minutes under them. But me, if I'm playing FIFA, right, then I'm like, hey, we're up 3, time to rotate, keep my players happy on the bench that aren't getting as many minutes. Because even if I play them for 5 or 10 minutes, their morale rating is going up. You know what I mean? So I would have maybe, me playing manager, I might have put them on a little bit earlier, all 5 of them.
I actually thought, maybe we would see more minutes over these 2 games for Oscar Bob.
Same. Yep. Yeah, I would like to see him get a little bit more run in there, because he's somebody who's clearly has fresh legs, and is somebody that has made a difference as a sub for us in the past. So bringing him on would be something I'm on board with too, for sure.
Well, and I wonder why Pep is not utilizing him more in the rotation, considering the string of games that we've had literally since February. He's seen his time and he's done very well. Why aren't we using his services to keep fresher legs, to keep people guessing? I mean, he's an impactful player. I'm not going to say he's a dynamo by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm also not going to cut his legs out from under him and say that he's not well equipped for somebody his age.
I think it's more Pep at this point is going with his horses that he trusts the most and is giving,
and that's fair.
Which is I think that's the biggest thing, is if you just see who he's starting the most, it's the guys that he knows his system the most and have been here before. That it's that experience factor for him, I think. But I think there is something to be said for his youthful enthusiasm, because we saw how well Rico what did for us last year with changing, kind of like when Kyle went out, he came in and he ratcheted up the energy for everybody and brought some much needed energy. So I think there's definitely room for Oscar to come in and do a little bit of that.
Honestly, I think
for sure.
I think Oscar Bob would have done just as well in these last 2 games as Julian Alvarez did. Even with the goal, and I don't think Alvarez played badly. I think he played really well.
No, he played fantastic.
But somebody who plays on the wing like that, Pep seems really intent on getting Alvarez out there for some reason, and in some ways, I don't really get it. But
yeah.
Kind of go along with your point, Colby, about taking Phil off. As soon as halftime started, it seemed like to me, when that match, Brighton were out to kind of pick at Phil and taking shots at him whenever they had an opportunity. And as soon as seeing that started, I was like, okay, let's get Phil out of there, because they clearly have an attitude problem specifically with Phil, because they were not holding back from taking late shots, stepping in on him kind of late, and trying to knock him off his stride as much as possible. So as soon as that happens, it's like let's get him out as much as we can, so we don't have any unnecessary fouls. Take him out. So that was definitely something I noticed. That jogged my memory when we were scrolling through and everything. So, so we did have another goal in the second half. Colby, do we have that one queued up?
Yeah, I got it for you, bro. Absolutely excellent finish by Alvarez.
And the desire from Kyle. Yes, it all started from that long ball from Ederson, left space, so he played it out into that area for him to run onto because he knows Kyle's fast as hell. Can I get it, Kyle? Colby, do we have a?
I got you.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
So that's something that we do miss when Ederson's not in there. We don't have that in our pocket that we can pull when the opportunity arises. So.
Right.
And you saw in that play too, the Brighton players and their keeper kind of claiming for a foul when Kyle slid in and won the ball first, but there's nothing in that. Like let's not do that, Brighton.
No. So funny that you had said something about pressing. Because right in that moment when that goal happened, that was what was happening. Brighton, literally at every single turn through the second half, they came out completely different. Obviously needed to because you were basically playing catch up, if you want to call it that. But they were pressing everywhere, and that was a result of it. So it was kind of
defense. It keeps those defenses honest.
Yeah,
I mean, they know we don't necessarily have to play through their press. Like we will go over it from time to time, and we will score goals that way. It keeps them honest. Keeps them on their toes.
For sure. Should. That's what we're supposed to do, isn't it?
Absolutely. And after that goal was scored, they continued their assault on Mr. Phil Foden. And Colby, you had a fun point that I thought was definitely interesting and relates to the sporting sports that happen over here in America. Hit us with your call to action, my friend.
Make sure you hit the like, subscribe. But no. Okay, so I'm going to read this off verbatim. So Van Heck's foul on Foden was dumb. What was dumber is when Phil gets up and is walking back to position, and Van Heck, with the ref, decides he wants to touch Foden, to which he was having none of, right? I honestly think that when stupid shit like this happens, so we've already talked about the fact that I think they actually, they said they're not going to do it, the sin bin, right? Okay, well, here's something I would like to see, and maybe we could do it like an XFL, if you will. We bring in like old wrestlers or new age wrestlers that they play, right? And then anything can happen. So it's like hockey, right? You fuck with me, guess what?
I thought this was what the MLS was for.
So did I.
Hockey style penalties for a while.
Yes, they did. Yes, when MLS first started, they had hockey style.
The rest of the football world did not acknowledge how fucking awesome that was.
Yeah, if you see the old clips,
they should have, and they should have all adopted it.
The old clips of those PK shootouts with them getting runouts and the keepers running out and everything, that was a sight to behold. Bring it in, man. Why not?
Listen, it would bring a whole... Yeah. Dude, it brings a whole other level to the game. If I'm able to turn around... Dude, like, if you touch me, if you touch my side as I'm walking by you after we've already had a scruff, I should have every right to grab your wrist, turn you around, and clock you in the fucking face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, take the first off. Right?
mean, you can technically do it, but you're going to get a red card. So
I'll take it.
Well, you just need a. I mean, continue with the hockey metaphor. You need an enforcer on your team.
Yes.
yeah.
You need
Right.
you need a Nigel.
We can totally pick that guy out.
You need a guy who's just a thug who can't kick a ball, but he can punch somebody's face.
Okay, honest question. Who is City's thug? I'm voting Kyle Walker.
Of current players?
Yeah, current player. Who's the thug on the team? Who's the guy you're like, dude, if we're in a back alley, I'm not fucking with him.
Absolutely Ederson, but I don't know if
Ederson?
Does it have to be an outfield player? Because I'd take Ederson.
It could be anybody.
I'm going to go someone who's not usually involved, but just because he's Croatian, I'm not messing with Joško.
No, I'm not messing with him either. He's so sweet though. Like, all right, dude, you saw the video they did when Joško. Yes, dude, he's so sweet, and you're like, dude, he loves cheese. He's like a big bear. Like, so I don't know if I can take him that seriously. Now, Kyle, I feel like Kyle's done some dirt. I feel like he might have done some shady shit on him. You're right.
We know he's done some dirt, just maybe not that kind of dirt.
Oh my God,
Kyle, we love you anyway, man.
We do. Thank you, Captain. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Right.
Excuse me?
So right after that, Gvardiol, there's a play that he had on Pedro. Absolutely nothing in that, by the way. I thought that was egregious that they were even making it at all. I was just like, dude, come on.
That was a
Come
dive.
on.
Let's call it what it was.
Dive. Subs all around. They were pretty quick too. Nunez, Grealish, come on for Foden, De Bruyne. Right after that, Doka for Silva, Lewis for Walker, Gomez for Rodri. How often do we actually see Pep employ all the subs?
It's a rare occurrence. It doesn't usually use all five when he has it, and especially this early. Oftentimes he might do it, but like the last two or three are coming on in like the 89th minute.
Right. What's up, Georgie boy? Thanks for showing up. Thanks for chilling us.
He had two answers at the bottom there for
things
our thugs are on the city side.
So he's thinking Holland. Holland's a machine.
Honestly,
I could fuck with that. He's the guy I don't want kicking me for sure.
Oh yeah.
I don't want him kicking me. Because I feel like that's what they would use him for. Like if you get a scrap right, you have like Joško and Kyle. They're the thugs come in. They fucking get you all good and down, and then you have the trifecta that comes up behind it, and you have Holland just kicks you one right in the sternum. No, bro. I want none of that. Rodri.
He's choked some people on the field. So
he has. But
Rodri has something deep down. Something
right.
Something that it's like a little while to get there. It takes a lot of provocation, but
once the beast is unleashed.
Once that beast is unleashed, like as a product guy myself,
right?
Say, there can be some deep-seated rage.
Right. He's like that one.
I think it's in there somewhere.
Right. Well, what was that? What was that one movie? It was Seth Rogen and Michael Cera. God, they're best friends in high school. Why can't I think of the fucking name of that movie right now? It's gonna make this irrelevant if we can't figure it out. Oh my god! It was like the most popular movie in 2006 or some
shit, right?
McLovin, yes.
Yeah. What movie was that?
Why are we all dumb right now? What's happening?
Pineapple Express. Christ, like,
Close. Same producer.
Super bad. Jesus Christ.
Super bad. Super bad. Right. So there's that scene, right, where the one dude gets thrown out of the party and then he like decides to like uppercut him. He's like, Tiger got out of the cage, man. That's Rodri, but way bigger.
Yeah. The beast is released.
Yeah. Let's see. What do we got left on this match? 30 matches unbeaten. I'll take it. So we're gonna
got waxed by Bournemouth today.
Who was it?
Brighton.
Nice. I mean, revenge game, right?
A little
I
bees.
feel bad for Missouri at this point.
I mean, you kind of have to, but all in the same, like, is it really his fault that Brighton are not forking out the dollars for players? I mean, you just let go of, like, your whole squad.
That's Brighton, though. That's Brighton's whole MO. They don't spend money on players like that. They find the diamonds in the rough, and then they make bank on them when they sell them to, teams like fucking Liverpool and, whoever else. Nobody takes the managerial job at Brighton thinking Brighton's going to buy me, a $40 million star.
So what you're telling me is that Brighton are the Pittsburgh Pirates of the EPL.
I don't tell somebody else this week, like in a different context, like Pittsburgh is really having its moments. I should be more familiar with everything Pittsburgh now. I spent a lot of time in Cleveland, and I have feelings about the entire state of Pennsylvania generally, and I never had a good time there.
Really?
I can tell that Pittsburgh is really having its moment, and people are really getting warm on Pittsburgh. So I should familiarize myself with sort of the plight of Pittsburgh sports fans.
Well, guess what? Now we're going to have conversations because I'm going to teach you.
Okay.
Yinzer, right here. No, dude. And that hurts my feelings hearing that you've never had a good experience, especially in Western Pennsylvania. Eastern Pennsylvania, I get. They're all a bunch of jagoffs. All of them.
I haven't had a good I went to the Poconos. I mean, you talk about Central Pennsylvania shit. I mean,
the Poconos are full of really weird people, so I'm surprised you survived. Central Pennsylvania, same thing. But no, Western Pennsylvania, I'll say this. I don't like gloating on my city as much as I used to. Things have kind of fallen by the wayside. A lot of it has to deal with current economic situations and stuff like that. People being transient and whatever. But there's a lot of history and there's a lot of cool stuff there. And I really hope that you get the chance to go back and enjoy it the way and through the lens maybe of a real Yinzer. Just getting to go like to the Andy Warhol Museum, going over to the North Shore, going to the Science Center, seeing the stadiums. I mean, you get the whole view of the city right from the middle of Three Rivers. Getting on top of Mount Washington, they have some of the best restaurants in the country. Best restaurants in the country. I went to this one place with my partner called Altius, and so it was a 4-course dinner, right? It was like 175 a piece. No biggie. A couple bottles of wine, whatever. They brought out the appetizer, which was a butternut squash soup, right? They had already in this little like carafe, but they had a bourbon infused marshmallow with pralines all around it in the bowl, and they just poured it over top of it. Pat, that was probably the best soup I've ever had in my life. I had 2 bowls.
Wow.
But I mean, beyond that, you have to have a Permane Brothers, man. You gotta have a Permane Brothers.
No, I mean, I can see the appeal. I did spend a lot of
right.
So there's a little bit of kinship and rivalry there, but
They don't have any food.
No.
They don't have. They have no food.
Yeah, you're right.
Skyline Chili is shit. What is that? That's not even the right city, is it?
That's nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have any good food. The Polish. I bet you if you go to the Polish churches in Cleveland and you go there and you get the stuffed cabbage, probably the best stuffed cabbage you've ever had in your life.
Like, that sort of stuff. And,
Right.
When I lived in Cleveland, I went to grad school at Case Western, and so if you have any idea where that is, it's
Yes.
right around the block from Little Italy.
Yeah.
And so I walked, Little Italy every single day from work to home, past that cemetery, up that hill, down that hill, every single day. And the bakeries are phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrate every day.
Yeah.
You get tempted to walk in, and that was probably how I initially became fat. But these tiny little shack restaurants, these tiny little kind of corner of the old building, down the stairs, and if you actually go in them, people look at you weird. People are like, you want to eat here? Like, there's a bunch of old Italian dudes off in the back, kind of giving you the side eye.
Yep.
And you're like,
They're scanning you, bro.
can I get some spaghetti, maybe?
Bro,
But if you do get the spaghetti, it's pretty good.
Rust Belt Italian restaurants. If they can tell a tourist just like that. So I'm sure they saw you come in. They're like, what are you doing here, bro? Oh shit! So we're gonna hit a quick 30-second intermission. Come back. We're gonna finish it off by talking about Forest and what happened there. Peruse through that pretty quickly, and then we'll do a little Q&A, and then we'll close this thing out. How's that sound? Well, I did not expect you guys to see me doing that, but it's okay. Because it wasn't what you thought it was. Wasn't what you thought it was. All right, so we're going to... Right. Excuse me. Let's get into Forest. So I asked the question before you came on, Pat, and I'm going to ask you again. Because you didn't get a chance to answer. What was on Rodri's face? Because I saw a mouth mullet and a George Michael 5 o'clock shadow going on. What is that?
Rodri, man, I'd love to be his therapist. I'd love to really dig into the guy's got layers, and I think he's exploring himself. I think he's branching out. He's famous for no tattoos, donating blood,
Fucking in the shirt.
Really, and tucking in the shirt, He's got an animal inside him that wants to. He needs to express himself. I think he
express yourself.
Yeah. I think this is the new Rodri, and we all just need to strap in and enjoy.
So we're coming to the conclusion that he's very multi-dimensional.
He's like onions. He's like onions.
So many
There's layers.
So many layers.
Boop, boop.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Still waters run deep. And,
yes.
No stiller water than
Oh my God. Joe, get us into this damn match.
Yeah,
I'm having a good time.
It was a nervy start for me. I don't know about you guys, but the first like 15, 17 minutes before we kind of took control, it was pretty open. I wasn't expecting with Nottingham Forest coming out with 5 in the back and playing a bank of 5 and a bank of 4 to be as open and pressing as they were, but they came out on the front foot. And we're very physical too. Like anytime we had a player dribbling with the ball, their hands were all over us, grabbing us, pushing us, tugging us, shoving us. So you could tell that their game plan was press early and then be extra physical because they had all their big boys in the back line to try to knock us off our game. So it was definitely nervy. Those first 10, 15 minutes, I was not real thrilled with how we were playing and felt like one of those matches where we might concede one early and then struggle the rest of the way. But
one of those games.
For sure. So that's how I was feeling off the first 15 or so minutes. How are you, Pat? How are you feeling? Were you in the same boat?
Exact same way. In contrast to the Brighton game, I said, watched that. I never felt like it was ever in doubt. It was always going to be 3-4 goals to the win. Like that. For this game, we started out like you said. First half, I just thought overall was weak. Brighton had at least 2 just glowing chances, just amazing chances, and we were lucky. I mean, we could have easily gone in the behind. 2-1. We could have gone in behind. We could have gone in 1-1. We were a little fortunate in the way things I think worked out for us in the first half. And even the start of the second half, Brighton really came out, ready to go for it. And I don't know if this was just another one of those games where the game plan is we're going to wear them down, we're going to let them come at us, we're going to weather it, we're going to let them, just wear themselves out and tire themselves out. And, holy shit, oh my God, Nuno, like, he just leaves his freaking injured players out there, So we scored our first, against the 10 men. So, maybe that was just, the idea going in was that, we'll just tough it out. We'll get a goal or 2 and get the hell out of here. And, honestly, at this point, I'll freaking take it.
Cue the conspiracy theorist now saying Nuno's got Man City paying him in his pocket by not putting out another player when Nico went out. I can already see the tea leaves coming at this point about City. City are lucky. They're paying people all that typical bullshit that's going to come out. Colby, do you got our?
I think people are really going to say that
they always got something to say. The fucking red media's always got something to say.
The people that I know that give me shit about City regularly they know there's no comment too stupid for them to pull out.
I have gone off on this recently on social media and directing this at Liverpool supporters, quite honestly.
Bingo.
Okay, like I get the refereeing can be really, really bad. All right.
Yeah.
Like we got a refereeing problem in the Premier League, and this is way more than just one Angel Hernandez. It is referee after referee. It's systematic. It's the VAR. Everything kind of sucks. There's a lot of human error. There's a lot of systematic bullshit that has made the problem worse.
Mm-hmm.
All that said, I don't think it's a conspiracy. And they jump out there and they say, oh, somebody's on the take, or this ref's on the take, or, clearly VAR is bent, or I don't see any evidence in any of this. It doesn't matter what club, that there is some conspiracy that's affecting the in-game decision-making of referees. Tell me what that is.
I mean, it's no...
That it's more than just human error and just sort of normal bad calls
Right.
over the course of a season will all come out in the wash because it affects every single team.
Right. And honestly, right now, we're kind of seeing that across, well, specifically the top three, which we'll get into here in a little while. But one of yeah, I feel you on that. One of the things I noticed, and this kind of plays off of what Joe said, was that they came out with 5 in the back. Pat decided in this match to kind of go back to basics as well. I feel like, because I feel like that 5 back line, you obviously know what they're going to do with that. But we have not seen a 4-3-3 formation out of Pep in at least a year and a half now. With the way that he's been playing, 2 in the pivot, 4 in the attack with the striker up front. Yeah. But even the attack, like you were saying with Forest, it was still too much for them, especially in the beginning of the game. That kind of scared me, like, a lot.
100%.
100%.
I think we missed Eddie's collision, didn't we? That was speaking of nerve-wracking, that was rough to see him go down like that. And kudos to him for carrying on through the rest of the first half before he had to come off. He was looking a little bit like me when he was leaving the pitch today. He's I broke my elbow and dislocated my elbow about
this
a week and a half ago.
motherfucker. Don't listen. Let's get the real story. All right. He was dicking around. He was dicking around, and he slipped like a goon, and he broke his fucking elbow. Oh, just
at my daughter's soccer practice. That's essentially what happened. I kicked a ball back, and because the grass was a little slick, and I wasn't wearing my turf shoes, my plant foot went up with my kicking foot, and I went to brace myself with my arms out of instinct, and my left elbow did not appreciate that maneuver, and it dislocated and fractured at the same time. So Eddie was looking a little bit like me today when he was leaving the pitch because he was in a sling.
I'm bummed that evidently because you haven't done it yet, this doesn't exist on video and you haven't shown it.
Unfortunately, none of the girls at practice saw it. I went down all by myself, but it took about 30 seconds before they realized I was down and in pain. So there was unfortunately no video evidence of the tall tree taking a spill.
His daughter's got something that's rent free in her mind for life.
Oh yeah,
life.
100%. Never gonna live that one down. That's for sure.
No, probably not. And you're not gonna live it down here, either, buddy.
Nope, and that's okay.
I hope it heals quickly.
Yeah, got surgery this coming Wednesday. So, what can you do?
What can you do?
We can show that
So
clip of that next goal. Do we have that queued up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Let's take.
What a
And
tasty
yes.
delivery from Kev.
Yeah, that was nasty.
Big fact.
How often?
Really covered himself in glory. This particular, I think he would have an outstanding game.
Yeah.
I think if he hadn't scored that goal, we might be talking about his performance a little bit more negatively today. But credit for the goal. That you love to see that. You love to see us scoring on set pieces. God,
Yes, it's been a while since we scored one off a corner.
So many years of frustration. I mean, it seems like we've always been terrible off corners. And I don't know. It's nice to have a threat.
Well, and I think that whole point gets driven home, especially with us having signed Holland. And yes, we have a massive, like, all of our backfielders are 6'3" plus, right? For the most part. Not that Sergio Gomez does not get put into that equation at all, or Rico. They're short kings. But to be converse about what you said there, Pat, he actually, from my perspective, he actually had quite a decent game, but that kind of fizzled off after he made this one stop. I don't remember who it was on, but at that point, between the goal and that, I was thinking, I think he might be man of the match in this one. But we obviously saw things kind of just tumble down the hill.
Well, and maybe it's just my perception of him, still in that center half playing a left back role, which is such a pet thing over the last several years, and I should be used to it by now. But it's always kind of looks like especially with being his first year with us, kind of a fish out of water situation, and not a real natural left back. Maybe that's more what I expect to see, but it sounds like Pep's perfectly happy with him. So,
I mean, and just like you said, for him playing as a center half in a left back position, you don't really find a lot of even center backs that have that type of ball control, and I think that's why Pep has put him where he's at, to be able to exploit that side, because without him, really, what do you really have to counterbalance Kyle Walker's style of play, especially when they put him as the pivot? True. Now you've got 2 points. You have 2 points of contention on the defense. We can bring it up either side, especially when they're both on. I mean, that has to be the specific case. But you have that much speed and that much ability to move and distribute. I mean, Kyle Walker, yes, he's getting old. His cross has seen better days, in my opinion. But Josko's slowly forming into that opposite side of him. I will say we had a terrible game. We'll say he's had the best game he's had the last 5, to be fair.
That's pretty fair. That's pretty fair.
Right after that, Ortega comes on for Eddie because of that little knock. Kova for Doku at the half.
That was definitely
obviously
needed. That was definitely needed. What we had going on in the first half, Kyle was actually slotting in next to Rodri a bit.
Yeah.
Because Doku was occupying Kyle's usual high and wide space because that was where he was operating. So Kyle was then tucking in. And Dokes, as positive as he has been lately, I don't think it was his best game today. And he wasn't really giving Kyle a whole lot of support since he was tucking in. That's a long way to cover, even if for somebody who's fast as Kyle is. And if Doku isn't going to track back and help, that was kind of leaving Kyle on an island. And Akanji was kind of all over the place, I think, today too. So we were losing shape quite a bit because of the way they were playing in the first half. So I was really happy to see Kova come on to kind of settle that space and then allow Kyle to get further forward on the right side, and instead of having him playing more centrally. So I think that was definitely the right move to make at the right time too.
Pat.
Yeah, no, I thought the subs were excellent. I really thought they took a game that was a little bit in the balance still at that point, and locked things down. I gotta say, we're about to talk about the second goal. I love to see Holland scoring that way. I mean,
yeah.
he's been on a little bit of a
drought.
A little bit of a drought, and I mean, penalties are nice, and little tap-ins off the De Bruyne cross, those are real nice. But to have one where he's on a breakaway, gets that ball, controls it, has to shake the defender, has to make the goal, has to squeeze it between the goalkeeper and the post himself. It's got to do a lot for his confidence and really just make a statement there. Like, he is not the goal scorer on one of the best teams in the world. He is just simply one of the best goal scorers in the world, and still is, and he can still do shit like that.
I'm not one of those.
Absolutely.
One of those.
Absolutely.
One of those. Yeah, exactly that. They're just there shortly thereafter. Believe he was subbed off Well, we're talking about Jack being subbed off, correct, for Holland.
Yeah. Holland came on for Jackie.
There's a pretty egregious foul that happened on Jack prior to his substitution. They started getting chippy with us, specifically Jack, in probably this like 8 to 9 minutes.
Getting chippy with Jack.
Oh, well, you know.
I know. That's something that never happens, ever.
What?
The shocker.
What?
Yeah, Simon Hooper apparently is allergic or immune or whatever you want to call it, yellow cards. Because there were so many blatant yellows that should have been handed out and were not. And that particular foul was absolutely late.
Yeah.
And he came in with his knee right into Jack's thigh very late, like we said. So that, I mean, I think it was almost from behind a bit too. So like that's clearly a yellow card in every definition of in the rule book. So, but Holland coming in at that time was I think exactly what we needed, and getting Jack off, who was starting. You can see he was getting a little spun up too because of all the fouls. So I think it was the right time to take him off to calm him down a bit.
We didn't need him losing his head.
Yeah. Exactly.
At that point, especially Nottingham Forest. Like, let's be fair. Nottingham Forest, because of where they're at, where they've been, and where they are currently, they're going to be that pain in the dick team every single time. Especially to the higher clubs. I don't. They'll play to the same level of people, or excuse me, not people, teams around them. But when it comes to playing the top guys, I'm not going to say they haven't gotten their fucking asses spanked. But I'm also not going to say that they don't come out and give at least a thorn in the side to their opponents every time. And we are always one of them. Always. The Holland goal, that changed everything as far as the spirits, too, of the team. Let's give that a look. Yeah, and Pat, just like you said, I mean, those are the type of goals that we want out of him on a constant basis. And it's been really hard. I don't know if it's been his psyche, if grandma passing has really affected him that much, because that was a thing. Not to mention his little blips of being out injured, him having time away from the team, him not having the same camaraderie that he had with Jack and Phil and all of them as he did last year. There's a lot of things that I feel that play into what is making Erling Haaland seemingly slump from last year. At the end of the day, though, he's still the leading goal scorer, right? He's the top of the Premier League again. I won't give him Golden Boot. I mean, there's been prettier goals, and I would probably give that to maybe Mo this year. But this is a sophomore slump, and I think it's nothing more than that. I think next season you're going to see an explosion of him again.
For sure. I think this was a good, kind of like what we said with Phil in the Brighton match, where he was that slotting home the goal was a sign of a guy who was confident. This one with Erling was absolutely vintage Erling at this point, because you could see once he picked the ball up, he hesitated like he was going to pull it back onto his left, because everybody knows that's his dominant foot, and he made the defender hesitate just enough to be able to get the shot off with his right. And a guy who's pressing or not confident at the time isn't going to be able to pull that move off and slot it home with his off foot that easily. They're probably going to try too hard to get onto their favorite foot. But in this situation, Haaland didn't do that. And he was composed and in control the entire time he had that ball. And it was again, from Kevin.
He didn't overthink it either. He took what gave him, and he took the opportunity that was available, and didn't try to overthink it or force something different. He just took the opportunity that was going to be available and scored it. And shit, you love to see.
Absolutely, exactly.
You love to see. Yeah.
And before that, we were. Go ahead, Colby.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say, like, I love when he gets on these one-on-ones and he bodies people out, or he knows how to, like, just take them off their pace a little bit to be able to cut back and get that goal in like you did in this one.
You can't stop that. you can't.
You can't stop
he
it.
gets ahead of steam. You know, he is. You see it time after time. That one he scored was against West Ham early last season, where he just bulldozed the
bodied,
bodied
people.
Over
yeah.
You know, and this is, I want to go back and ask you, Colby, was like, how much do you think, because we're talking about the sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Year one, the Premier League has never seen a guy like Erling Haaland.
Ever.
Nobody is prepared for this shit. Nobody in the league, you know, you got coaches, you got defenders. Year one, they're fucking shell-shocked with this guy. Now it's year two. Do you think, you know, I don't want to say they're catching on, but they get a better idea of how he likes to play, of where he likes to position himself, of how he likes to work defenders. That said, you can't do anything about those goals like he scored today, where he's just going to muscle you up, he's just going to move you aside and get that shot in. You know, you're not going to be able to do anything about that. But as far as him setting up in front of goal, coming onto crosses, moving defenders, you know, when the ball's in the middle third and they're trying to push the back line, you know, do teams kind of catch on? Do you think that might be contributing a little bit to sort of the second year slump?
I don't honestly, dude. If I'm going to be if I'm going to be straightforward, this is going to be a complete hot take. And as you were talking about, I was thinking it too. I don't want to put his style of play as the main cause as to why he's slumped down this year. I'm going to have to say that this falls on Pep a little bit and Pep's system. Because of the way that Erling plays and the way that you've seen him play with Dortmund, and even going back to when he was playing with the small Norwegian team. You're right, he does have a specific style of play. Pep has a differing style of coaching, where Pep is, for Haaland's sake, I think, trying to break away from the tiki-taka type of play that we're used to, especially when we've been seeing the 4-3-3 over the last couple of years, up until mid last year, really.
But I think the last few months, Haaland has really come back a lot more and participated a lot more in the buildup of play.
Oh, absolutely. And I will disagree. I can't disagree with that. And I love that about him. I also see something, too, that I've seen about, and it's just his body type. When you got somebody who's 6'4", agility doesn't really equate. Very, very rare does it. You know what I'm saying? You have to be like a shortstop or a second baseman or something like that for that to even really be a thing. But his ability to shift his body back and forth with the defender has substantially changed. His off-ball has substantially changed because more often than not last season, he was staying centrally, looking to run the line or expose the gap at any point in time. Yes, now he's starting to get into build-up. And I think that's now Pep pulling him back in and saying, hey, listen, this is how we play. If you just do what I tell you, I guarantee you this will happen. It's been a lot less of a selfish game from him, I think, is what I'd like to say, comparatively to last year. I think he was a little bit more selfish with the ball, and rightfully so. I mean, we didn't pay the full amount that they said we were going to pay for him. Thank God we didn't. We've only built that value in him in the last year. Made up for that total in the last year. But I think we're seeing, on the whole, I think we're seeing Erling finally integrating into what Pep does, and that's holding him back from being a 50-whatever goal-scoring striker this year. He's integrated the system. I like it, and I think it's only going to progress, and like I said, we're going to see this whole other bit of Haaland and the team around him be able to expose things in a much different way. I think Pep's ready to turn the page, if you will, on this specific formation or tactics. I think we'll see a big change next season.
Well, I agree, and I think it'll be incredible to see Erling Haaland, tearing up League Two defenders.
Yeah.
He'll score 100.
Wait a minute. So hold on. Let's go into hypothetics right quick. Let's go to hypothetics. Say these 115 charges do send us down to League Two, right? We have to fulfill League Two standards as far as players. We literally would have to get rid of the whole lot and just leave Erling there.
Is that true?
Is it?
Is it?
I thought you had to be within certain pay structures when you were in lower leagues. I'm pretty sure he would break the cap in League Two.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could, disguise some payments, or
I mean, if the charges are true, then that might be the answer.
No, I don't know how that would work. Yeah,
Have to do some
I'd
digging.
like to
It would be
see it.
interesting,
Yeah,
right? I think we would probably, if the cap was well above what Erling makes, I would probably think a player like either Manu Akanji or maybe Julian Alvarez, if they don't like inflate his worth, would be the only thing that we can afford. I honestly don't know how all of it really breaks down with the leagues. All I've ever heard was the small bits of it's just different. It's like being in the minor leagues. You don't get as much pay, you know?
Are there any other examples in England of that sort of thing? I mean,
I would imagine. Well, what about no, he went and coached there. I was going to say Rooney when he went to Derby, but that was him coaching. That wasn't him playing. There's got to be somebody. There's got to be somebody in the history of this league that has gone down that far with the team. Loyalty. I mean, the loyalties were different. Like the principles were different back in the day. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Money wasn't that big of a thing. It was like, dude, I want to play for my hometown. I want to play for my club. I don't care how much I get paid. I ain't leaving.
Oh, there was a lot fewer options too.
Right. Well, I actually just for the first time I pulled up the map for my kid. Easy, Joe. I pulled up the map, the England map for my kid and for my partner, and I showed them just how many teams are really in England, and they were like, "That doesn't even make sense." I said, "That's why they have different tiers. Like, they all can't just play together. I mean, they can. It's called tournament, but like to have that type of season, having like how many fucking teams are there now in England? I'm sure like past Luton Town and any other new organizations or Sunday leagues. Yeah. Anyways, we're going off the rails. One of the things I wanted to take note of is that we truly lacked any explosive type of play. And it's not just this game; it's all season. And it was in this game that it made me realize it. There are so many times where we have good like holes to pass through, lanes to exploit, whatever you want to say. They happen. I'm trying to paraphrase what I wrote here. I'm just going to read it out just so I can say it. We truly lack any explosive type of play. There's so many good runs happening when backs are turned and looking the other side of the pitch. I would like to say I wish we were a little bit more meticulous about our vision and distribution. We have to capitalize when the other side is slumping, and that's something that we just don't do. We don't take advantage of miscues with other teams very well. How do you think we can shift that, if you will?
I think a lot of the times we are so concerned with possessing the ball, and that comes from the edict from how we're going to play from Pep, that when there's an opportunity to put a through ball in or hit a long ball over the top where we might have a scoring opportunity to develop, they're hesitant to do so because they value the ball so much, and that they also might turn the ball over and give it to somebody else, give it to the other team. So I think a good chunk of it is they value the ball, and the edict is let's possess it. So instead of taking an opportunity or a risk and sending a ball into space or chipping a ball into the box, they instead look to recycle to try to get like the best opportunity, the scoring opportunity that they can find, I guess. So I think it's something that comes from Pep on down.
What do you think, Pat?
I don't know if I really. I mean, it frustrates me too, right? Like I think it goes to this. I don't know, this attitude or this sort of idea where we get used to City scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, and winning.
Bit of the complacency.
Right. You get used to that, and you expect to see that, and I'm as guilty of it as anyone, because I feel like I get really frustrated when I know we're not playing up to our standard. I feel like I've seen that a few times this year. In this regard, I get a little frustrated sometimes, but it's hard for me to really criticize when the result is there. They got the job. We were giving the ball away a little bit more than we typically do today. I think I can understand why they were a little bit hesitant. We weren't getting quite as much action down the wings as we typically would have. And we were in a position a few times during the game, and it was nice to see that we took shots kind of from the edge of the box, and there was I think enough there that I wasn't too upset by our style of play, that we were going up against a team that was trying to frustrate us, and the more we pushed, and the more we pushed against it, and the more we ended up giving the ball away, and the more we ended up getting half chances and not converting, it was just going to frustrate us. So let's be patient. Let's we got the goal in the first half. We're gonna just be patient. We're gonna be wise about controlling the ball. I think there's you don't win games through ball control, but you can't score unless
you should.
So if the score is in your favor, you might as well just keep the ball.
Yeah, right. It's just a game. Keep winning it.
In Pep's mind, that's what we've heard him say pretty much, is the best defense is keeping the ball and not letting the other team have it. So,
right, just play keep it away.
Exactly. And we're the best in the league at that. So,
Joe, since Pat had just said it, turnovers.
Man, we were absolutely masters of our own demise with that today. There were so many just giveaways and turnovers in the middle of the field that led to transition opportunities for Forest. You could see Pep on the sideline getting very animated and frustrated with the decision making, because they weren't finding feet. They weren't playing simple. They were hitting the ball into no man's land. They were often passing it to a player who had 2 guys around him and had no other options at that point. So you could see visibly Pep being unhappy with the performance. The whole second half, I thought, was extremely poor from us up until Erling scored, and then from that point, I think we got a little bit more control of the game. But it was not good for me in the second half. Going forward, you could tell they were not on the same page. People weren't guys were making runs. The ball wasn't going the opposite direction. And you could see the players getting kind of frustrated with each other too. So it was not the best second half at all. And I think we were extremely lucky, like Pat said earlier, when we were talking about this game, not to have conceded earlier and not to have gone down at some point, because they had some golden chances. And I'm thankful for Chris Wood for having one of his worst performances to date, because he had so many opportunities in front of goal and he just couldn't get out of his own head, I guess. But he was one of them days for him where he couldn't do anything right in front of goal, and I'm happy for that, because we were trying to offer up some goals on a silver platter for him at times, it seemed like. So
no. You also had a quick little hot take on who should have maybe started versus who did.
You trust the manager when they put the lineup out, but after a certain period of time, I felt like the back line was absolutely missing Ruben Diaz's ability to organize and lead from the back. Akanji has been really good for us. I think he's better when he has someone like Ruben back there to help cover for some of his more adventuresome forays into the midfield and out wide. Yeah. There were times when he was wider than Kyle Walker on defending the wing when he's supposed to be in the center defending that space. So he was creating some holes for us. I thought Ruben does a great job of organizing the back line and keeping kind of guys in line. And his kind of energy and nastiness at times, we didn't mention him during the goonery talk of players, but he's one that I like. His energy, his nastiness, and his leadership, I think, was missing from the back line today, because he does such a good job keeping us organized.
What did Pat say? What did Pat say?
Was he even available?
Wasn't he on the bench? I thought he was on the bench. No?
I'm actually fairly certainly that he was on the bench for this one. I think that over the past couple of weeks, Pep has seen the duo of Akanji in the middle with either Ake or Stones. I mean, Stones maybe once. And he sees him as a mature presence. I mean, kid's smart as shit. He's fucking human calculator.
Ake had an outstanding game against Brighton. And
absolutely. Absolutely. But I think with seeing this pairing, that pairing, though, he wanted to keep the vibe going, I guess you could say. Because, like you said, Akanji's not had a bad game. Essentially, I mean, there's been a few hiccups throughout the season, but not anything that says, oh, I don't want him in there because he does this shit on a regular basis.
It looks like Rubes was not available because he's not on the bench. So
he wasn't. He wasn't even on the bench.
I wish he was a bit. You did. Yeah, you're right.
That him and Foden didn't even make the trip.
Was he sick too? Did I miss that? I saw Phil was sick.
Yeah, apparently Phil had illness.
Yeah. I must have missed that one this morning when
I recall being a little surprised too that those two.
He wasn't available, but I wish he was available for the reasons that I mentioned. I understand why he didn't play, but I missed somebody today.
Somebody needs to tell the boys to stop sharing drinks.
There you go.
Oh.
You gotta watch out for backwash.
Figure this all out. They would have, it'd just be normal by now.
Right.
Bingo.
So to close out the game,
you want to tie this matchup into both.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna tie this off for you. I have to say that I have to hate it to Forest. There's been too many times this season, especially when we've been at home. But even in away games where I have seen the support of that team leaving. The only teams that I have not seen do it are Luton, I'm pretty sure Burnley, and Forest. So, big up to Forest support for sticking around and showing that they are faithful to their club, because knowing where they're at in the league, knowing the roads that they've gone up and down, and for them to still stand proud, that's heartwarming as shit. And I'm not trying to fucking grease their pockets as we didn't slaughter them by any stretch, but we did send them off with a nice poke in the ass, and they said, we're gonna stay here and we're gonna take it the whole time. Please, sir, I'd like some more.
In that same spirit, credit to Tottenham fans today going down.
Shit. Yeah.
I mean, they made a game at the end, but I was half expecting to see Tottenham fans start filing out at 3.
No, very, very, very happy they stuck around too, because that was becoming a thriller. I think we all did wish that it resulted in one point, but the way that they kick things up, I have massive respect for Ange Postecoglou with the way he deals with that team, because they're so inconsistent where they could be so good. I mean, Richarlison to me is still kind of a cancer, in my honest opinion. But aside from him, everybody else is a very mature presence. They understand where Ange is going with all of this, and there's a road ahead rather than a road to look down, if you will. Yeah. Big shout out to Tottenham today. For sure. So we're going to... Huh?
I was pulling for you.
Right.
They'll play out of their minds against us.
And that's it. I was just about to
do.
fucking say. They're saving it for us. They're saving it for us.
They'll be like against us.
Bruh.
Oh my god. All right, so we've gotten through these matches. We are at 123. It's time to get a little Q&A with our guests. How about it?
Let's do it.
So we're gonna we only got a couple of questions for you. Nothing too deep. Nothing too deep. We want everybody watching, everybody who watches after the live feed, to get to know a little bit about you as a fan. We've told everybody that you've been with the club or been supporting the club for better part of 20 years, if not more. So how did you get into the game, and did you ever play like back in the day?
Very, very casually. When I was very, very young.
Yeah.
The age I'm at, soccer was big for, little kids,
Right.
when I was growing up, but then you move on to Little League, and I was more into baseball as an older kid.
Right.
But yeah, I liked soccer. I was, aware of soccer, and growing up in Indiana, like, soccer is not like a really big thing. We don't have a big, soccer culture back home.
That's football and basketball.
yeah, and it's not fair, really. I mean, the school there I went to, Indiana University, has one of the best soccer programs in the country, and has for years and years. And I didn't appreciate that until I was kind of there and got into that. But really, my City fandom, I would say, started just very, very casually, just through my awareness that Liam and Noel Gallagher were, Manchester City fans.
Right.
That was, I was big into Oasis at the time, and sort of the Manchester music scene. That kind of stuff was, a big thing in my life at the time, and something I really enjoyed. And so, you learn about the characters and the culture, and you start thinking about, and just sort of soccer generally, football generally, in the UK. That was sort of my initial exposure to it. And then, Manchester City was kind of a thing for a while, and you would look up, the teletext websites and shit, from 2003, 2004, and just kind of getting awareness of like, how the team was not doing good.
Right. Nope.
And then I decided to get a little bit more into it when I, became aware that DeMarcus Beasley and Claudio Reyna were playing for Manchester City back in like 2006-ish, I guess.
Yeah. That would make sense.
And it's kind of funny. DeMarcus Beasley was finishing his career here at Houston Dynamo when I moved over, so I got to see his last season. It's kind of a fun little full circle thing. So I started really following City and going to the one bar in Cleveland where they had Setanta Sports, and was able to watch the odd City match, and I was the only one who really cared. Moved to DC, and started to connect with more City fans on Twitter. And I met Mo Ryder from the DC group, and he was, everybody in DC kind of knows me and Matthew Ide, and I'll talk a little bit more about him as sort of the Laurel party of early Capital City Blues. But I want to give a lot of credit to Mo Ryder, who's a good friend of mine back in those days, and I haven't talked to in a while. So if he hears this, how you doing, Mo? I hope well. He
send it to him.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy that got us out. Just kind of wandering around DuPont Circle in DC, looking for a place to watch City, and he would fucking send out flyers and post shit, like on public Facebook groups and shit, and just try to get people to come out. And we would, I don't even remember the place. I think it was on M Street, off the corner there. I don't think it exists anymore, but we would go down, and I think that's where we met Cameron Butcher one time. He was involved very early on, and we just sort of put a group together. And it was literally just like 3, 4, 5 people who would meet up at this other place around the corner when it was open for a City match every now and then. More people started showing up, and when Matt got involved, was during the time that we had just or were in the process of becoming official with the Manchester, the mothership as we called it. And so we kind of had a triumvirate going at that point in time, where we were sort of laying the foundation for the formality and the officialness of the club. We needed to find a place to meet, and it was in those early days. It's hard to get places to open for like people, on a Sunday morning. And Lucky Bar was the place in DC. And I will, like I told you before the show, I will not stop singing the praises of Lucky Bar till the day I die. And I know it's gone. And I this is all nostalgia now, but I miss it.
It's in your background.
That's my background. It's a very formative part of my time in DC, and it's an experience I treasure. Every time of going to Lucky Bar was a really just a special atmosphere, and you don't get that. And it's a special thing about the U.S. fandom that you can get fans of all clubs, and you can be singing back and forth, and the banter can be usually it was pretty good natured, and we would have those would be our Premier League mornings. And over the time, City got bigger. Just sort of the U.S. fandom got bigger, became more of a supported thing amongst all the clubs and the broadcasters. They started really, pushing it, and we would have more and more people every week. While I was there, I remember clocking 100 people, 200 people on our rolls, and it was just incredible just to be, involved in the leadership team at that point to have, brought the club from, that few people, and just, it was a very organic thing. And I'm sure, a lot of clubs can say similar things about, their genesis. But to be part of that, and, to anybody listening out there, if you've never been part of an OSC, or if you have the opportunity to take a leadership role, and you feel that's something you want to devote the time and resources to, it's a very, very worthwhile thing, that all of your local fans are really, really going to support, and you're going to get a lot out of. So I would strongly recommend it.
So before we got on here, and as some of our viewers have heard in a past episode, and I'll speak on it lightly. I don't want to go too far into it. But we had a recent incident with our OSC, and it certainly kind of tainted the view that we had on the OSC, and I think you maybe have brought me personally back around a little bit, just from the perspective of certain things that we spoke on that I'm not going to elaborate right now. But one of the things that I would like to see, especially with the ones that are getting bigger, I know New York's very good about it. I watch a lot of their videos that they put out. And even Dallas, I mean, I think they're number 3 as far as the OSC's rank in the U.S. In terms of size.
Maybe.
I think Chicago might have them.
Ooh.
I don't think so.
It's been a while since I've really checked it.
Seen the numbers, right? Yeah.
But, I know they both got big groups.
Yeah.
There's
my
West Coast too.
Right. My point of saying this is that there are only a few that know how to. I'm not going to say how to be a fan, because everybody has their own thing. You know what I'm saying? But like, the one thing that brings a fandom together is being in unison and doing certain things, traditions, whatever it is. In this case, chanting. Chanting is a big part of football. Knowing your chants is a big part of football, especially shows how involved with the team you really are. How much do you really know? How many chants do you know, right? And one of the things that I saw the last couple of times I was down at the DC OSC, and I want to get your perspective because I want to know how different it was then to how it is now. One thing I noticed is that there is literally a table of people who know the songs. Everybody else is just kind of like they're there. First question is, do I look at them as plastics? Do we start throwing that term around? Because I don't like particularly using it. I would be what is considered a plastic to most, because I came in when we're winning, blah, 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 blah. When I came into this, I didn't even know the city was that good. I didn't even care. I hated United that much that I just wanted to root for the opposite. So, City it was. But I spent a lot of time and effort and hours learning about this club. And when I go to things like this, and I see a lack of knowledge, it makes me like, that's what's happening. And especially with the way that Americans are typically about this game, there's still the thoughts of field theories, name a whole other slew of other write-offs that you can make about this game. I guess I have a hard time because of my deep-rooted sports fandom and my teams that I grew up with, and not seeing it here in the U.S. It sends me back a little bit, I guess. I don't know if I'm kind of going in circles with what I'm saying, but what do you think we can do here as real not deep-rooted? You're way more deep-rooted than we are, so, like, we bow to that. But all in the same, like, how do we get people to love the club as much as we love the club? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, there's different people have different love languages, right?
You're right. You're right.
I have a different way of loving the club than, other people. You have a different level of appreciation. I don't want to get in a position where I'm gatekeeping other fans or saying I'm more of a fan than everybody else, or because I get really upset when somebody out of Manchester say, oh well, American detected, opinion rejected, like
right.
I'm sorry, like this is just sports. I have every right to have an opinion about what happened in this game as you do. Maybe I don't understand about the local culture and what this club means to everybody in Manchester, and I freely admit that. But I'm sorry, I will go off on pet subs all I fucking want, and you can just eat it. So gatekeeping
love it.
Is like a no, is a no go. If somebody just wants to show up and watch the game and get some like to me that's totally cool. To sing the songs you got to learn the songs, and to learn the songs you got to want to learn the songs. Right. Some people just they don't have the energy for that. They're not good at remembering lyrics, or they don't hear it often enough, or I don't know. Like some people just think it's silly that I'm singing in a bar, and who the hell am I singing to? Just me and everybody else here, and I'm the players are 1,000 miles away. Of course they can't fucking hear me. Like who cares?
Right. Exactly.
When you're there with, like at Lucky Bar, I'll go back to that. For example, you're there with a bunch of fucking Arsenal fans, and you're in a big game, and you're shouting back and forth, and they're singing their songs, and you're singing their songs, and you got a little banter going on. That brings it out of people when there's kind of the other fans there, and there's a real atmosphere going on, and everybody's watching it, and everybody in the bar is watching, and pulling for their team, what their desired result for whatever their reasons are. I think it's a little bit different when you're just the only ones there, and you're the club, and you're just sort of there watching your game, and it's just you. Like who are you really singing to?
Right.
I can get that. I've sort of felt that way at times before, where I felt like it's getting a little gratuitous, or like, why are we singing this song now? Like,
right. What's the point behind it?
Like actually, United hasn't lost yet. We can't sing, City win, United lose.
Right to lose, right. Right. Time and place. Time and place.
So it's I have a hard time really criticizing people who don't sing, and who don't get into it really deeply and passionately, and are that expressive about it, because I don't some people just aren't that expressive about it. And I'm sure if you go to a game at the Etihad, you have the standing sections and the big singing sections with the supporters, and yeah, I mean you got fans that that keep it chill. I know they're
stoic.
You can see them. They're and they don't sing, and but they're part of the atmosphere, and they're there to take in the game, and they're probably lifelong fans just as much as anyone. So I think
I would respect it if I'm standing on their grounds and they're just not that type of people. I don't know. I feel like there's like something in us as Americans where we should be quasi super fans to get the word out. You know what I'm saying?
Do we sing songs for our American teams? Like really?
Yes.
I mean, you're about to sing some Pittsburgh song for me, probably.
I am not. I'm not going to. Well, and here's the thing. It's funny you said that. I forget who I was talking to about this. Was it John Owen? Was it John Owen I was talking about this? I was talking to somebody else? I don't know. It'll come to me. Doesn't matter. I was asking, I was like, dude, listen, why do we sing certain chants? Like, the Istanbul one was cool last year when we were going to Istanbul, right? Right. Why are we still singing it? We're not going to Istanbul. And we're not even in the Champions League anymore. So, I don't get it. So I get what you're saying there. But again, I feel like we as Americans, as the ones that really, this club means something to us. We found our reflection within the club, if you get what I'm saying. And I don't know. I guess maybe, and I'm a very passionate type of person. Call it the Italian in me. It might be the 53% British that I am, according to Ancestry.com. That's finally coming out in me. But like, I don't know. I'm a go hard at it, learn it. Because the one thing that I absolutely hate, and it's funny because we have a podcast and I'm open to critic at any given point in time, is not knowing enough. So I'm very hypercritical about that, and I always want to teach people. And the one thing that you said about gatekeeping, that's one thing we cannot fucking stand, because we've dealt with it not just at the social media level, it's been at the OSC level, it's been with the club. I mean, we've been gatekeeped by people who work for the club, because we're not officially sanctioned by Manchester City to be a Man City podcast. We are an American affiliated, non-affiliated Man City podcast. And it's just kind of like, dude, why do we get shoved to the back? Because we've only been here for 2 years. I've been podcasting for 3 on soccer in total. Football. Don't say that. I just corrected my kid on that today. But I don't know. It's again, and I think this is a good dialogue to have, because you are somebody who it seems maybe a little bit more reserved, where me, I'm like loud in your face, and I want to get y'all riled up, and I want to, I want you running outside and say, "I love Manchester City."
Oh no! I mean, oh my god! Like, shit, guys. Anybody who remembers the game we played at Yankee Stadium, way back now, and encountered me on that day, they'll tell you. I mean, reserved is not always what I am.
Oh, okay.
I mean, anybody who knew me at Lucky Bar, it still comes out every now and then. Not
right.
As much more, because the atmosphere, at the place we have here in Houston is it's just not quite the same. And I think a lot of it boils down to not having fans of other Premier League clubs there as much, or at least the OSCs, where they're more organized and they're singing, and there's more of a dynamic going on. It's really just people showing up who are interested in the game, and mostly City fans, and sometimes Celtic fans who have stayed after their game, and there's just not a whole lot of the atmosphere is just not the same.
And
so
that's
I don't have a problem like when somebody shows up to that and they're not singing along with us. Like I kind of get it.
Well, to speak a little bit more specifically, I'm not gonna say who, what, where, when, but for me, I understand with Houston, because it's still a growing city. The population is literally, if you're not Creole, you're Thai. If you're not Thai, you're Black dude. If you're not Black dude, you're what's the other? You're Hispanic. And I would imagine a lot of the people there are more prone to watch Liga MX or La Liga versus than watching the Premier League or even lower tiers or the Bundesliga. So I see that as a small market still that has the ability to grow, and I think you're in a perfect place at the perfect time to do the perfect thing. And especially with having City just come to Houston just a couple years ago. I'm sure that's kicked off a lot of stardom, and I'm sure that helped with whatever. Not to mention
a World Cup city.
Yeah, it's going to be a World Cup city. Not only that, but then you have James Harden behind the Houston Dynamo, who, I'm not saying they're a great team, but it's the fact that they put a franchise into that city. You're creating a culture now. If you look at Charlotte, when they put Charlotte FC in there, their soccer culture went right through the freaking roof. Same Nashville.
I was in Austin a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Another good example.
Great
Oh
example.
my God. They've got it going on. They built something real nice there.
And it looks like, from some of the clips that I've seen of Austin FC, like when you go there, it's an experience. It's not just going to a game, it's an experience. You get the light shows, you get all the shit going on. Exactly.
Yeah. It was fun.
Exactly.
It was really, really fun.
So we're going to move on to the next question, because I've really been on this one for a while. You kind of told us about your journey becoming a Blue. If you want to dig a little bit deeper into that and then tie it with, do you believe the system in America for football is causing a lack of talent in our country?
Oh, God damn. Oh, I mean, I don't know if I'm really qualified to answer, a question like that. That's I'm not like a grassroots football guy, unfortunately. I don't have kids. I've not really been involved at sort of the grassroots level. I've, got some awareness of, what's going on in Indianapolis right now. I followed the Indy 11 since they started, and they're a USF lower league, team beneath the MLS, and now they're talking about bringing in a MLS team, and they're going to screw all that up. It's stupid, but I won't go off on that. As far as broader, sort of soccer landscape in the United States, like I said, my experience was, I got into it as I was a really young kid, but it was recreational. It was just, it was fun and fitness and a bunch of kids chasing a ball around, and there wasn't a whole ton of organization or coaching to it. And I know things are a lot more sophisticated, out there in the youth development, but we don't have academies quite like they do, over there.
Right.
And the culture is not, quite the same as far as, college soccer. You've got, players who play in college who move on to MLS or do end up going to professional teams, legitimate professional teams, and kind of college university football, and it's kind of a dead end over there. Like you very rarely see people enter the big leagues who weren't brought up through an academy or playing at that level as youth. There's a lot of infrastructure there. There's a lot of, I think, just stuff that it doesn't exist in the United States, and you'd have to build it. And up until now, there's not been any impetus to really build it. And has it resulted in a decline in quality? I think, not decline, because we've never been that great, but lesser quality compared to peer countries or other countries. I think probably you've got your Pulisic and your Reynas and your players like that have gone off to play for international academies, and that's always an option. But at home development, it just still doesn't really seem like a thing that's happening to the degree that it's happening in other countries. And it's going to mean that we've probably hit, I think, a ceiling in the United States as far as until we build some of that infrastructure, until we sort of change our approach. This is probably about as good as it's going to get, relatively.
Mm-hmm. I think, and I've thought about this several times, and then there was a point to the question to you, one, to get your perspective, but two, to make the point that the game is not in enough places in the United States for it to gain traction at all. The fact that it's not really represented in a lot of major cities, inner cities, is a little depressing. I mean, you go to the East Coast cities, right? DC, New York, Philly, Miami, kind of. There's a lot more pitches available to get on, right? There's a lot more. But the further west you go, it becomes less and less existent. And more so, and even to the fact that because of the geography, we're not really able to sustain any type of multi-tier leagues. I mean, as it stands right now, we have the MLS and the USL. They could conceivably get together and make, MLS top tier, USL lower tier, and make a USL 2. And then like the MLS next program. But then there's also the reason why you see so many teams is because all these small towns have clubs within them, regardless of the size. And we don't have that here. If we
to the way that I'm in Texas, and
right.
I grew up in Indiana, and high school football, high school basketball. That's the community. That's what people get engaged with. Those are the teams that those players' parents played for. That's their community. And so I think there's a lot of metaphors there that we have a very robust structure in place for sports like, American football and basketball.
Sure.
And it's just, it's a different sport that we have built those structures, those community elements around, compared to our cousins across the pond.
Church.
Another one.
I think you've totaled I want to say 5 or 6 tonight. 5 or 6 air horns tonight.
Quite a few.
That's pretty good.
Keep it quality. I don't know who we're having on next week, but I hope I do.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we I'm not gonna lie. It's been you are the only one that has bitten on this so far. So hopefully you're the added bait to the hook to get people to come on and talk with us. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Joe, do you have any questions for Pat before we go into the last 2 things and we close this shit down?
By the last 2 things, you mean off of the Q&A section, or because we kind of hit all the Q&A, right?
We did hit on the Q&A. I didn't know if you had any like wheels turn up there and be like, no. Okay.
No. You guys did a little bit more of the talking during that, and I was just enjoying listening to the conversation. And I thought the discussion was great, and I liked hearing Pat's perspective on the American system. And I don't think you're far, even though you just said you don't have kids or kind of detached a little bit from the grassroots side. I think all your points are extremely valid, because I have 2 daughters who both play, and I coach my older daughters, and she's U13 right now. So I'm getting a little bit more involved in understanding that whole dynamic. So I think you're pretty spot on with your assessment. So I think that was some really good and accurate discussion that just happened from you guys. So I appreciate that.
Thanks so much.
Did it work? Absolutely. Got to be 2, right? Is it going to work?
Come on.
There it goes. There it is.
So last couple of things that we're gonna close this out on. Very, very quick talking points. But hold on real quick, I want to get to these comments. George asks, can you see USL and MLS competing with other leagues, is actually what he meant to say. I think over time, if you build the systems, yes, I think it's possible. Do I think that... Well, I mean,
we'll see how they do when they go up against other leagues.
Exactly. I mean, at least you're getting a gauge of where you're at. I think you get a gauge of where it's at. I think you, for the country at least, as far as the leagues go. I mean, honestly, dude, George, I would put the Pittsburgh Riverhounds up against most of the Division I teams, even some championship teams. I know that's probably me being a little bit biased because that's my home country team, but they have been at the top of the USL for the last several seasons, and they continue to bring new, fresh talent in, and they continue to win. I think the style of play is a little bit different, so I mean it can be contrasting in that perspective, but I think that the talent is really there. Would I put an MLS club up against a Premier League club? Probably not. Probably not, because that you're talking about two different types of football at that point.
And that shouldn't be the barometer for MLS clubs right now either. If you're going to compare them to other leagues, you want to start like looking at, the Eredivisie and those kind of the not big five. Like start looking at the other your leagues in Europe and see how you compete against them and how you stack up there before we start like diving in, because it's just the quality is just not the same because of a lot of things Pat mentioned about the infrastructure and the structure that they have over there. It's going to be a different animal, and with MLS and USL, it would have to take a very large pill to swallow for the MLS ownership currently to accept relegation, because at this point that's threatening their pockets. And in the US, we know how the rich feel about those kind of situations. So to get them to agree to potentially get dropped to a lower league where they're not going to make as much money, that's a big pill for them to swallow. So until something like that happens, it's just, like Pat said, I think there's a plateau there for MLS, the league itself in general, and then also for the U.S. soccer in general with the men's national team in particular. So
there's a lot of structural changes that need to happen before we start talking about competing against other continents in general. But I think the time will come and it will evolve. It's probably going to take about 50 fucking years. But at least some point it will.
I don't know anything about the Pittsburgh, what'd you say, Riverhounds?
Riverhounds. Worst team name ever.
I mean, I don't hate it. Like, I know it's the River City, right? Like, that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to be a dick or anything. I don't really know anything about them, but I quite honestly think they would get smoked by a League One side.
It's very possible. It is very possible, but I just the quality of ball that I've seen that team play, I think they could match up with League Two, League One teams. Not maybe a low table championship team. Here's one. If we put Wrexham and Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Wrexham would beat the shit out of them. I know that. But they would put up a fight.
Second tier, I think the median second tier U.S. team would be fortunate to not be embarrassed by a League One side, by the median League One side. That's my honest opinion, but
I mean, you're also when you
recent years, but I just the style of play, the cohesiveness of the team and the coaching, it's universes away. I really even at that level, I really think that team, that median team, I don't know, maybe the Riverhounds are, on a good day could be especially good and would hold their own, but I think most teams in that league would be fortunate to not.
Oh no, for that league in total, yeah, dude, but I'm talking like Pittsburgh, like I think it's Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay Rowdies, and there's one West Coast team. They have been at the top of the league for the last couple of seasons. Those three teams, I can see playing a League Two side, a League One side. Low table, not high table, low table. I'll pull it back a little bit for you. But the physicality of English ball to American ball, very different. Very different. And I think that the American teams would have a problem with that at first. But that's the way we know the game and the way that it should be played. So, Anywho. So, last couple of things we have. We're gonna talk about liver poopy. We're gonna talk about liver poopy. First of all, so we're gonna start off with the fact that we know that Klopp is leaving. We got news this week that Arne Slot from Feyenoord will be taking over his duties. This is what I think about it.
Got a little comment about that on social media from. Did you see that one?
Who's it from? Someone we talked to on a regular, or was it just some random?
People we've had discussions about in the past, shall we say. I think he mentioned on Facebook about how he can't wait for your to revisit this because it's going to be completely wrong.
Oh, Reese. Scout's prick. Fucking Reese. All right. Yeah. I think that will age well. I think it's going to be a stinky cheese when it's finished.
This was their third choice manager, and they're trying to spin it some way that this was like the guy that they really wanted at the end. Like, no,
you didn't get Xabi Alonso, dude. Sorry.
And then you didn't get Ruben Almarim either. So now we're on to this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can try to spin this any other way than a big, massive, history-rich club like Liverpool gets turned down by their two first choices like that.
Right.
The math isn't mathing on that to me. If you're such a desirable place to go and coach and be a part of, why can't you get the cream of the crop? Because I don't think Arne Slot is one of the top managers to be out there as a open guy to pick up. I mean, I think he's done well with Feyenoord, but is he ready for Liverpool? Like, that's a big jump, massive jump.
Pat, what do you think?
We'll see if his play style works.
I don't know a whole lot about the guy. Obviously, they've got to give him a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand why somebody might be hesitant to take the job, and not because Liverpool sucks, which they do. I can understand that.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. I can understand that there's you've got a lot of egos to manage. You've got a lot of really high-paid stars. You got guys that evidently aren't super happy with their current manager right now. You've got a lot of issues to manage, and you may have some turnover in the squad. It may take some time for the fans to really, start to feel for you and start to pick up what you're laying down. It's got a lot of pressure in that job, and a lot of things to kind of figure out before you get your feet under you. It is obviously a big job. So I can understand why somebody would be hesitant to take it, just sort of in general for reasons having little to do specifically with Liverpool FC. That said, it's not a headline signing, is it? It's not a marquee name that is he going to be the next Klopp? Probably not. You can't replace Klopp. Is he going to do well enough to, keep them battling for championships. It's gonna be a big job, and how many managers has United been through since Sir Alex?
Oi,
Yeah, I mean,
Hog.
this
Jose,
situation all
Right.
around.
Ralph,
Right,
Ragnick.
if Liverpool got in a similar situation where they're just, this guy isn't working out, let's, do another thing for 6 months, and then that guy's not working out, I wouldn't make me sad.
Not a
I
bit.
don't think it's gonna make any of us sad. No, not at all. Well, so funny you said this about a specific player that seems to be having a little bit of a dust up with Jurgen Klopp before he leaves. Mo Salah. Mo Salah says that if immediate rumors of him are leaving, since he only has 1 year left on his contract, do you think he's out the door now?
I think he's gone. Saudi's apparently lining up a record-breaking offer for him. He said after the match that if he were to speak right now, there would be fire based off of the question about his little dust up with Klopp on the sideline. There were rumors about him leaving the beginning, like last summer. He potentially on the move. So I don't think there's any way with a new coach coming in that Salah at 31 stays. And George, I'm sorry, he is not going back to Chelsea.
Yeah, that is probably the most delusional thing I've ever heard a Chelsea fan say. Holy shit balls.
George is on one tonight.
Bro, are you on the sauce?
I love it.
Are you on the sauce? What? Are you on the sauce, bro? Shit. Hold on. What do you say? Oh, come on, man. Oh, you fucking know it. You know it. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that breaks your heart, but, bro.
You've made your bed. You've got the team you've got for the next 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, buckle up, get a helmet, make sure that you get some ammunition because you're going to need it. Like, yeah, good. I'm glad I'm going to go off that rant. I'm glad you know, because I would have just went in.
I think there's going to be a high level of turnover at Liverpool. There's going to be a lot of outgoings. Usually that happens when you change managers. So I think there's going to be a lot of new faces and some old ones.
Did Darwin Nunez not come there? Did Darwin Nunez not come there to play kind of for Klopp? Because he's kind of fucked in this. You put him in. I guarantee you he loses his spot. I will guarantee you that's probably a little too fresh. I'm going to say that he may lose it. Because I just don't see how he fits in. If you watch Feyenoord play this year, if he brings that to Liverpool, I don't really see how Darwin fits into that entirely. I can see little bits, but not entirely.
They might give it a season, but that his days.
I think that's all he's gonna get. That's all he's gonna get. This is gonna be we'll see how you do this season. If you do all right, we'll give you another contract. But if they don't do that, if they sign him to a big contract, more trophies coming.
I don't know. He's a good player, and he's got potential, and I think there was a lot of teams, not us, but a lot of teams that would like to have him. I wonder if sometimes, because I know they did this with the players before before Pep came in. In that year, I think all the players that were coming into us during that time were well aware of the managerial situation and were probably told at some point in time, well before any of us, that, hey, we're getting Guardiola. This is going to be what's happening next year. You got to know this if you're going to be with us. Because you don't commit under circumstances like that. And I wonder what kind of, what they might have told somebody like Darwin, about Klopp's plans, or what Klopp might have told him himself, kind of just between the two of them. And I think players probably, this day and age, they've got to consider it. Like, they've got to have that in the back of their mind that, the circumstances for me at this team could change entirely. At the end of
drop of a hat.
Change, they could change everything about the management, everything about the manager and the management team, the coaching team, and then I'll have a decision to make. And I don't think it's fair to put a player in that position if it's known that somebody is in their last year, or they're going to be replaced. And so I've got to feel that when they got some of these guys to commit, they would have given them a little bit of a heads up about Klopp's presumed timeline.
Right. Well,
you'd hope so.
You'd like to think so, but that's,
you never know.
If you come to play for that guy and instantly he's gone,
you would think in good faith they would do that. You would think in good faith, because it's not to say that Darwin isn't a talent. He probably could be, but he just doesn't fit into what's there. How is he going to fit into this guy's side? I don't know. There's a lot of questions, a lot of hypothetics. C'est la vie. This is football. We love it. And that's that.
Big time.
All right.
What's the Dutch counterpoint to heavy metal football?
For every advantage, there's a disadvantage. Was that right?
Is that his philosophy?
Oh, I don't know if that's his philosophy. I thought that was just a Dutch philosophy. Sorry. My fault. Maybe. We don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. Pat, I want to thank you so much for sitting in with us tonight and talking your part, telling us about you, and enjoying City with us. I hope that you'll come back.
Oh, I'd love to. This has been fantastic. I hope I haven't talked too much.
No.
Not at all.
All right.
Not at all.
Nice.
Thoroughly enjoyed your company. We'll be glad to have you back again. And with that, now that the red carpet has officially been rolled out for the fans of the show and City, would you like to come on and talk with us for the two-thirds of you that we've retained from last week that are sitting in here listening to this? If any of you would like to come in and talk with us next month, here's your shot. Email us at snobbyboyspodcast@gmail.com or hit us in the DMs on X or Instagram. Be sure to follow us. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Go to our social medias. Make sure that you hit follow. If you like our content, share our content. That's the biggest thing that could ever been done by anybody who is a fan of anything. Share the content. It costs you nothing but a click of a button. If you do that, it would greatly help us. We greatly thank you for it. So that concludes tonight. I'm going to leave everybody with a audio clip, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. There was a former player, if you know who this person is, who is currently a coach that kind of helped the standings this week. Does anybody know who it is?
Oh,